JSAW crew. We are wrapping up our series on James, walking through James's how-tos for life, and we are heading into a new series on God's will. So today, to wrap up this series, we're going to be talking about James 5:13 through 20, which talks about powerful faith through prayer. In the beginning of this passage, James talks about several different examples of powerful prayer. He talks about those dealing with suffering, that we can pray and God will hear them. That if we are injured or need healing, that we can pray and be healed. That if we are dealing with sin that we feel like we can't get through, that we can petition and have that restored. And he also talks about turning people back toward God or toward God in the first place. And all of these things he highlights under powerful faith and prayer. The example he gives here for powerful prayer is this dude named Elijah. Elijah was a prophet in the Old Testament who did a lot of gnarly things, but in particular, James talks about a time when he prayed that it wouldn't rain, and it didn't for 3.5 years. And it wasn't until he prayed again that it began to rain, which is insane stuff. But James's point is this: we have a powerful faith, and our communication through prayer can accomplish impossible things. So let me give you an example of this. I never thought that I would ever have a mini ramp in my backyard. Today, clearly, I am sitting in my backyard on my mini ramp. So how did that happen? Well, as a kid, I would petition God for a mini ramp, but I never thought that it would be possible. I never thought that he would be able to make it happen, but I always wanted one. And from time to time, I would pray and ask God, it would be really cool to get a ramp, but I'm okay with whatever you give me. And as luck would have it, about a year ago, I met a dude who was trying to get rid of some ramps, and he needed a place to store them. And upon further investigation, I found out there were 2 quarter pipes. And I was like, do you mind if I turn these into a mini ramp? And he said no. And so through planning and prayer, God was able to provide me the funds to be able to resurface the ramps into a mini ramp. And now I have a mini ramp at my house. So even though I thought it was impossible, even though financially it wasn't in the cards for my family, God still gave me a mini ramp. And I am so thankful that I can sit here and tell this story. So why do I share that? Well, I share that because you guys need to understand how powerful our faith is. There really is nothing that we can't pray for. We can pray for healing. We can pray for suffering. We can pray for dealing with sin. And we can also pray for impossible things. If we pray with one another, these things can happen. And we can have confidence that our prayers are heard because of Christ. Hebrews 4:14 through 16 talks about this plainly. Particularly in verse 16, it talks about us being able to approach the throne of grace with confidence and know that we will receive God's mercy and find grace in our time of need. So we have the ability through Jesus to approach the throne of grace and receive what we need, including the impossible. Our faith has great power that we don't even realize. And the more that we focus on Christ and the more that we understand the authority which we walk in, the more we can ask for the impossible and see it come to completion. So I want to challenge you guys. Do you have a faith like Elijah? Are you willing to ask God for the impossible things? Are you willing to ask God for redemption? Are you willing to ask God for your friends coming to know him? Are you willing to ask God for healing, for just those impossible things that seem like they will never end, are you willing to have a faith like Elijah and ask boldly anyway? Because as Ephesians 3 tells us, God is able to do far more than we can ask or imagine or think. And I don't know about you guys, but I can think about a lot of stuff. So that's all we have for this series. Tune in next week for our series on God's will. And I hope you guys have a great week. See ya.